Hey everybody, my name's Ryan, and here at eTrailer we install, test fit, and review a lot of different parts. That way we could try to help answer any questions those of you might have. And that's exactly what we're doing here today on our 2011 Chevrolet Traverse. We're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster Diode wiring kit. So you're going to have a total of 5 main components needed to flat tow your SUV down the road safely. First one's going to be the base plate. The base plate is going to provide us with a solid and reliable connection point. That way we can hook our tow bar up to it. Now that tow bar is going to connect to the base plate here at the front of your vehicle to the back of your motorhome. And that's going to be that physical link that actually pulls your car down the road. The third main component is going to be safety cables. And those are there in the event of an unlikely disconnect. Those are going to keep the SUV connected to your motorhome. The fourth main component is going to be tow bar wiring. And so that wiring is going to plug into the front here and to the back of your motorhome, and that's going to transfer the lighting signals to the back of your Traverse. That way other motorists know your intentions as you're going down the road. And last but not least, the fifth main component is going to be a braking system. And what that braking system is going to do is apply the brakes in your Chevy whenever you hit the brakes in your motorhome. That's just going to help bring you to a more safe and predictable stop. And these aren't necessarily needed, but there are 2 more products that I would recommend picking up just to make your overall experience a little bit easier on you. And that is the Roadmaster Fuse Bypass as well as the Fuse Master. And I say that because Chevrolet does recommend that we take 2 fuses out every time you want to flat tow, and that can just kind of get tiring having to pop the hood, pull the fuses out, remember to put them back in every single time you want to flat tow. So what these 2 products are going to do is eliminate that. So as opposed to manually pulling them fuses out, all you'd simply have to do is flip the switch into the tow position and you're ready to hit the road. So honestly, I'm a big fan of the diode wiring, and that's primarily for a few different reasons. The first one, and most important, at least in my opinion, is that it's going to be the easiest to use or live with every time you want to flat tow. All you're going to have to do is simply just plug in a cable to the front of your vehicle to the back of your motorhome, and that's it. It's also going to be really clean. You're not even going to notice that it's there once it's installed, so it really does a great job of keeping our factory appearance that our Traverse has. And lastly, it's also going to be reliable. It uses diodes, and so it's going to help keep our vehicle's factory wiring protected if a short or some type of other electrical issue were to occur on your motorhome side. So it gives you a little bit of peace of mind there. Now, those are the big advantages that this setup has over, say, magnetic lighting, for example. You could use those, but I would advise against it. They're kind of just a hassle. You're going to have to set it up every single time you want to flat tow or take your vehicle off the motorhome so you can drive it around town. They have magnetic lights that you stick to your vehicle, and you're going to have to drape or run those wires up to the motorhome every single time, and it really just eats up a lot of your time, and that's the last thing that I personally would want to be doing whenever I'm trying to enjoy myself on vacation. So now here at the front of our vehicle, here's that connector I mentioned. So it's easy to get to and looks pretty good. And all you have to do when you are ready to hook up is take your cable, plug it right in, and then just plug the other side into your motorhome. And that's really all there is to it. So the cable itself is nice and thick, feels like it's well made. One end of it, we're going to have just that standard 7-way. So super common on the back of motorhomes. And that's just going to plug right in. On the other side, we're going to have a 4-way round connector. And that's what's going to plug into the front of your vehicle. So pretty straightforward. I do like the fact that it's coiled up nice and tight. That way, whenever you're going down the road, it'll stay up off the ground. But whenever you make those wide turns, it'll stretch out and give us that extra length. So really convenient and a nice setup. So honestly, at the end of the day, in my opinion, I think the diode wiring is definitely the way to go. I've had quite a bit of experience with them, and they're straightforward and work like they're supposed to. So what more can you ask for, really? Now, as far as the installation goes, it's pretty straightforward, but it does take a little bit of time just having to route all your wires and everything else. But as long as you stay focused, really shouldn't have any issues getting it done at home. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and do that together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here at the front of our vehicle, and first thing we need to do is connect our plug to one end of the bundle of wiring. So this black portion here on our plug, this bracket, this actually doesn't come with the kit, but it did come with our base plate, so I figured it'd be easier just to connect the bracket to the plug right off the bat. Just something I wanted to mention. But what we're going to do, if you grab our plug, we're going to have a set screw right there. Small Phillips. I'm going to pull this out. Be real careful with it. They're easy to lose. Set that off to the side. And then if you open up our cap, and just take that screwdriver and just gently kind of push up on the plug, it will come out. You can pull this band off here, and that's going to expose the terminals underneath. So before we worry about these, let's go ahead and grab our wire and get that stripped back. So you're just going to cut a little bit in between them to separate them. What you can do is peel them apart a few inches. And then what I usually like to do is just kind of cut a little bit of each end off just to kind of give us a fresh end there. But then we're just going to strip the insulation back. So once we have our ends stripped back, what you're going to do is take your plug, or the housing rather, push your wires through, and we're just going to kind of move this plug all the way to the back to keep it out of the way for now. And we're also going to take that rubber sleeve that was on the back of our connector, just push that over as well. Now we can go over what wire is going to go where and what each wire does. So if we grab our connector here, looking at it like so, if we spin it around, each wire is going to go to a specific terminal here. And we'll start with this one. That's going to be labeled 1 in our instructions. Our ground wire is going to go there, so the white one. If we move over to this one here, that's going to be number 2 in our instructions. Our tail light circuit will go there, so our brown wire. If we move up to this one, that's going to be labeled 4 in the instructions, and our right turn and stop will go there, so the green wire. And this one will be number 3. That's for our left turn and our stop. And the yellow wire will go to it. So the way these are going to work, if you back out these set screws here, you're just going to take the corresponding wire, plug that in, and tighten it back down. We'll do that same thing for the corresponding terminals. So this is what it looks like once all the wires are hooked up. We go ahead and take that little rubber sleeve, pop that back over it, take our housing and work that back down into place. We'll line up. I have to help push it back a little bit. So what I'm trying to do is get the set screw lined up again. Take that little set screw and re-secure it. So now that we have that hooked up, what I'm going to do is just mount this to my bracket. Here that came on the base plate. If your base plate doesn't have a bracket, you can pick up quite a few different styles right here at eTrailer. I'll just put this hardware in, tighten it down. And then what I'll do, I'll take the rest of our bundle of wire. I'm going to run that towards the back of our vehicle because it's eventually going to get hooked up to the taillights. So I'll go ahead and do that now and then show you the path that I took to get back there. So I went ahead and routed our wiring. I will say I did use the wire loom that comes with the kit right here in this front area because I feel like it's an area that could use the extra protection. But with that being said, you just want to do your best to avoid any hot or moving parts, and I just used some of the zip ties to keep everything secure. So it ties up into the base plate, kind of loops around here, comes through this opening, and up and over that brace there, runs along through here. And then once I got to this point, what I did was separate the white wire from the rest of the harness there, and I cut it and stripped back the insulation, and that's because I'm going to ground it right here to our chassis. So it's a good, easy spot to get to, really solid metal. So that's why I chose to do that. Now when you do that, you want to make sure to hold on to the rest of the white wire that you took off because we will be using that a little bit later. But once you have that stripped back, you're going to take the included ring terminal, go ahead and crimp that on. And what I'm actually going to do, the kit does come with a self-tapping screw. I know in the past, though, when I've tried to secure it to a real thick part of the frame, though, a lot of times the self-tapper can get chewed up. So what I'm going to do first is just kind of line everything up where I think it needs to go. Somewhere in there. Just going to put a little mark. And I'm just going to drill a small pilot hole with a bit just under the size of our self-tapper, and that should make it a little easier to drive that self-tapper in. Once we have that hole pre-drilled, then we can come back with our self-tapper and secure our ring terminal. Once you have that secured, you can continue to route your wiring. So I just followed along through here. There's this brace that comes down underneath our vehicle. Gave us a perfect and easy spot to secure our wiring. So I just shot that straight back. Then right here in this area, I went up and over our subframe. So make sure to clear all those moving components. You see I got it nice and high up there. And it's going to come out right here. All the way back here. Now we'll kind of take this one at a time. Right here I split the green wire from the rest of our harness. And that's going to go over to the passenger side. But first, what you're going to do is have your yellow and brown wire. And at this point, what I did was take one end of the white wire that we had extra and just kind of secured it to that yellow and brown wire. Ran it through the bumper beam where it drops out right here. These three wires will eventually go up into the driver's side taillight pocket. As far as the green wire and the white wire, so this is that same wire as this over here, just the other end of it. This will go over to the passenger side taillight pocket. And I just followed along the bumper beam. Kind of the same situation here. Just shoots through there and it drops down right here. Now if we move here to the back of our vehicle, we need to take out the taillights. So if you open up your hatch, that'll expose these two caps. You can take a pick or a small screwdriver, something like that, and just pop those caps open. And that will expose a 7mm bolt behind there. We'll grab our socket and pull those out. Once we have those removed, we can grab our tail light, pull it straight back, and what we need to do is disconnect it. So there's one connector plug there. Push down on the center of it, pull it to your part. We can go ahead and set our light off to the side and do the same thing for the passenger side of our vehicle. Now we need to get our wiring into the taillight pocket, and what you can do to accomplish that is use a fish wire. So I'm just using a piece of nylon air tubing, but a coat hanger or something like that will work too. Drop it down through the taillight pocket, it'll come out the bottom, and you can tape your wires to it. And then what you can do is just pull up and feed your wires up to the top. So over here on the driver's side, what I did is just peeled some of this tape back from our factory connector plug here and check the wires to see what signals they were putting out. The purple wire is going to be our taillight signal, and the yellow wire is going to be our stop and turn. So what we need to do is cut these and strip back the insulation on all four ends. We're doing this because we're going to put on some spade terminals that will connect to the diode. So I like to give them kind of a good twist. Make sure the wires are nice and tight. Then we're going to grab a blue terminal, slide that over, and crimp it down. So I'll do that for our three remaining ends here. Now that we have those crimped on, we can take our diodes, and the side that says out with the single terminal, that's going to plug in to the spade terminal closest to the connector plug. Then we're going to go color for color here, so take our yellow one, put on that diode, purple to purple, like so. Let me kind of just let those hang for now. We're going to take our new wiring that we ran up here, and we'll cut it to length. I like to make it a little long. That way we have extra if we ever need it for whatever reason. We're going to strip back all three of these ends. With these three ends stripped back, what we're going to do for the white and brown wire, you're actually just going to twist those together. And we're going to put on the yellow spade terminal there, so that'll slide over and get crimped on. And since the purple wire, factory purple wires for our tail lights, this end is going to get plugged into that diode, like so. And then what I can do is just grab another blue spade terminal, crimp that on, and plug it in to the last remaining terminal here on our diode. And over here on the passenger side, I essentially did the same exact thing. Really the only difference is the color wire. So over here, the factory brown wire, that's going to be our taillight signal. So our new white wire will go into that diode. And the factory green wire, that's going to be our stop and turn. So our new green wire will get plugged into that diode. Now that we have everything hooked up to prevent our diodes from kind of bouncing around, what I'm going to do is stick them together. There's actually this pre-attached sticky tape. I'll do that. Kind of tuck everything in. We'll take our tail light, Get that plug back in. And then we're just going to reinstall this the opposite way that we removed it. Now with everything hooked up, it's a good idea to test our wiring to make sure that it is functioning properly. Now I'm just plugged into a tester box, and this is what I recommend. You can use your motorhome, but keep in mind if you do come across an issue, it could be because of the motorhome side of things. So just something I wanted to mention. But with that being said, we can try out our taillights, our left turn signal, our right turn signal, and our brake lights. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Roadmaster Diode wiring kit on our 2011 Chevy Traverse.